So I've decided to do a short talk on simplifying some concepts that, if you look into the physical or mathematical side of these concepts, can be a bit overbearing and complicated, and fundamentally and conceptually, they don't seem to make any sense. The reason why they don't make any sense in physics and mathematics is because they're only based on pleasing predictions and theories. And so the two things I'm going to look at are the idea of infinity and time. I think to ignore concepts of infinity is mostly out of fear. This is to please mathematics, making predictions and measurements. Infinity means, to me, in the more simplified way, that energy keeps restructuring and retransitioning into different forms of itself. Which means, if we look down at the small scales of protons and electrons, that these scales, the bits that make up everything, are constantly interchanging and changing their structure and their curvature on all the different scales. So the universe, I would say, is not expanding or retracting. It is in a constant phase of change. This is infinite. The amount of compositions that can be achieved in the universe is infinite, and this is what I mean by infinity. The universe is infinite because it can be orchestrated infinitely. And if we take into account that the core substrate of the universe is meaning, or in psychiatric terms, affective valence, the choices to be made, will, the goals to achieve. If this is the core substrate of the universe, then the constant restructuring of the composition of electrons and protons in all environments, and all down to the single agents within each environment to scale, then the restructuring and compositions are endless. And now time. As we look towards time in physics, there are constant new theoretical versions of time. These theoretical versions always consist of adding different dimensions of time to time, different concepts of future and past, and the way the present is created. But time, at its core, is mass. It is the mass of any environment that creates the time that the agent experiences. For example, the relationship between the proton and the electron is the mass generated inside the atom. And this determines the experiential time within that gradient of mass. And as things become larger, like molecules, they have their own mass and exist in their own mass of the environment and experience a lifetime based on their atomic structure within their environment. And as we get larger, this continues to be so. The relationship between the planet, other planets, and the sun within the galaxy is an orchestration of different charge and mass. We call this gravity. This is why gravity has become such a mystery to physics. Because gravity itself, based on the laws that we've created, doesn't really exist. Gravity is a relationship of charge and mass. A pine tree grows straight up from the ground, straight. This is not due to sunlight. You can grow a pine tree in pure darkness. It will still grow straight up from the ground. It just won't be very healthy. The reason for this is that the atmosphere is electrically charged in a particular frequency of mass generated by the Earth spinning. The core of the planet acts a little like a proton, and the Earth's energy field is created with the pressures from outside of it, from the sun. It is a positive against positive spin and charge, creating mass, and we call this gravity. So it is the mass and charge of agents and the environments that determines the evolution of change in any system, regardless of scale. Time, like space, is needed throughout all scales. It's nested throughout all scales. A hydrogen atom, a molecule, a cell, an organism, star system, all function within their own ranges of space and time. This is why when we watch an enzyme travel across a whole band of DNA in less than a minute, and we calculate from our devices that it makes over 1 million computational choices along this band of DNA, we can't actually believe the amount of computational choices it makes in less than 1 minute. This is because the enzyme itself is not experiencing 1 minute. It's experiencing its own time in its environment, in its own mass. It is the mass and charge of the environment that creates the time. As we look at things at much smaller microscopic levels, their speed is almost unfathomable. So time essentially, based on mass and charge, because mass and charge are almost constants, time itself is geometrically, fundamentally, always the same. It is just the scales that change. Time only exists locally for the agent, but its geometry is global. Thanks for listening.